Hey, this is Joe Cook. For the past 15 years, Ragamuffin Archive has been on a mission to preserve and share rare and unreleased recordings from Rich Mullins and a Ragamuffin band, as well as the artists who worked with them or were influenced by them. And now, I want to invite you to join me for Ragamuffin Archive Revisited, a weekly podcast where we dig into our archives and beyond to share great music and moments that you may have missed. Each week, we take a deep dive through Ragamuffin history to share background info on some of your favorite songs and iconic performances. And there's a good chance that you'll discover new artists or maybe even a Rich Mullins recording that you've never heard before. It's Ragamuffin Archive Revisited, streaming on Mixcloud with the Mixcloud app or at mixcloud.com/ragamuffinarchive or on our website at ragamuffinarchive.com. And join us every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern for a listening party by clicking the Live tab on our homepage.
Hey guys, this is Eric Hauk. I'm really honored and excited to share with you about Beggarman Ministries. This is a transition home that we run in Wichita, Kansas, and the goal of our house is to provide a safe place for men to get back up. We have men who have been a part of our program that are coming out of rehab or prison, jail, homelessness, and we want to be a safe place that tells them through actions and words that there is hope and there is a possibility of restoration through healthy community and through Christ. We seek to provide jobs and transportation and empower them to get back up. If you want to support us or find out more about what we're doing, we could use lots of help because we're learning what we're doing as we go. You can check out our website at www.beggarmanministries.org. Continue to pray for us. We need help, but we are thankful that we can provide a safe place to offer hope to those who are in need. Thanks for listening.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the hosts. They do not necessarily reflect those of Ragamuffin Archive, our team members, or our supporters.
Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Eric, and this is Life from the Bottom Rung podcast, and I'm here with Dave Sprinkle.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
We are here for our second official podcast, and still don't know what we're doing. Ask us in 10 years, we probably still won't know. Right?
That's true.
But today, man, we're excited to be back for podcast number 2. And the theme of our podcast today is crazy left turns, some of the unexpected left turns in our journeys of life. So we're glad that you're tuning in. First of all, as we get started, we want you to know that we hope that this podcast offers hope to those who listen in the midst of your journey of life. Both Sprinkle and I have been through life's ups and numerous downs and have found that there is hope no matter how dark the storms of life. And it's much easier to assume that we look at life from the bottom rung up, that we need help, we need others, and we wouldn't be here if we didn't have people that helped us in our journey. Right, Sprinkle?
That's right.
Yep. So hopefully what we share during our podcast can be an inspiration or offer you hope from whatever rung of life's ladder that you're on. And we like to look at it from the bottom because that seems to be where we like to muddle.
Yeah, and I'd like to just offer some philosophical stuff here at the beginning since we're talking about left turns, and that is that 3 left turns is the same as making 1 right turn. So everybody just keep that in mind.
Is that left? I guess that's right.
Yeah, well, it's 3 lefts. But
it makes a right?
Yeah.
That's different than 2 wrongs making a right.
Right? Completely different.
Okay. Anyway, so you guys ready to dive in? You ready, Sprinkle?
Yep.
All right. So podcast 2, Left Turns of Life with Life from the Bottom Rung. So here's the thought that we have 3 basic things. One is that in our journey of life, we all have these crazy left turns, and some of them good, some of them bad. But as we look at life, the truth is the unexpected always seems to happen. And so we're going to talk about in our journeys a couple of unexpected left turns that came in our lives that actually led me and Sprinkle to be friends, which is pretty cool. And then the second thing we want to talk about is how we respond when these unexpected things happen and how do we find joy in the midst of the unknown. And then third is if we know the unexpected is coming, and life is going to change, then how do we live? How do we plan? Do we plan? What does that look like? So kind of some ponderings today as we think about the journey of life and the left turns that come our way. So as we start, I thought of a opening verse, like a scripture verse that has meant a lot to me, that has been kind of an overarching theme. And that is this. It's from 1 Corinthians 2:9. And it says this, that no eye has seen, no ear has heard, and no mind has conceived the things God has planned for those who love him. And the reason I like that verse is because the truth is we really don't have any idea the things that are coming up. We can't look ahead and know exactly what God has planned for us. But the hope that we have is that we can trust and know that his plans are good, even if they suck from our perspective. But here's the story that I want to tell about a crazy left turn that actually has to do with the Ragamuffin Archive, which is our hosting podcast server. Thank you to the Ragamuffin Archive for the way that they have opened the door for us to do this. Thanks, Joe Cook, for putting this together. And they are really built around remembering the life and the legacy of Rich Mullins, who was a musician, an artist, performer. And some of you might know that in 1996, I actually met him. So I thought it'd be fun to share that story on our podcast today about how I met Rich and then how that intersected with Dave Sprinkle and our journey together. So that's what I thought would be fun to share today.
Let's do it.
All right. So here's the deal. Part of my unexpected is that I was in college in the 90s. So that dates me a little bit. And when I was getting ready to graduate, I was planning on going to medical school. And
what a disaster.
It would have been for some people's lives if they were in my medical care, right? So I was a senior in college, getting ready to graduate, and I had majored for 4 years in biological sciences, pre-med, with a minor in chemistry, also a major in Spanish and cello performance, oddly enough. But when I was getting ready to graduate my senior semester, I really started to have these doubts of, like, is this really what I want to do? Do I want to spend the next 10 years in school? And I remember the day I was in my anatomy and physiology course, and they were talking about the enzymatic processes of the Golgi apparatus on the cellular metabolism level. This is a lot of syllables. But I remember thinking, I looked out the window and I thought, I don't care. This doesn't interest me, man.
So I stand by my comment that would have been a disaster.
Yeah. And I started to think, okay, hold up a second. If I don't care about the very thing that I'm going to be spending the next 10 years of my life really diving into, then maybe I should hit pause and make sure this is what I want. So after I graduated that spring of 96, a buddy and I decided to take a year off from life and just travel. So I got accepted to med school the fall of 96, but I decided I would defer that for a year and spend a year traveling. And so that's what we did. We got motorcycles, and each of us, we had about $3,000 between the two of us. And June of 96, after graduated, we took off. His name's Alex. He might be listening. If you're listening, hey, yo, what's up, Alex? But he and I had two goals for the entire year, and that was to sleep at least one night in every state in the lower 48 and to spend time every day journaling and listening and to God and praying and trying to figure out what the next steps are for us. And so that's all we did.
If I was starting out across the country, all over the country with $3,000, I think I would have had different goals. I think my goal would have been to have enough money to get cheeseburgers. So
Yeah.
Not quite as spiritual as you guys, but yeah.
All good.
I can't believe you guys started with $3,000.
$3,000, dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was another story about how I got that. I sold cutlery, which was funny to make money. It was awesome. But yeah, no, we lived on, it was like ramen noodle and peanut butter.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And we would go to like major cities and go to the hotels and go up and down the hallways and get leftover room service that people put out in the hallway.
For sure, yeah.
And then grub on leftover salmon and French fries and salads.
I mean, what could go wrong?
We're still alive. That might be explain why there's some things wrong with me, right? But anyway, so during this trip, man, as we were traveling around, it was really cool, some of the experiences that we had. But the fall of 96, we were heading toward the Grand Canyon. and we were heading up. If you've ever been to the Grand Canyon, to get to the South Rim, you have to go up to about 8,500 feet elevation. So we were driving up to 8,500 feet elevation. About halfway up to the South Rim, it started snowing. And the further we went, the harder it snowed. And we were nearing the top, and it was about a foot of snow. I mean, it was coming down. And I fishtailed on my motorcycle and went down. And we had to stop, untie everything, get the bike back up, and realize, man, this is dumb. We got to get out of here. And this was before cell phones. So we were connecting about once a week on the payphone with friends and family. And so we knew our friends were going to be in Gallup. So we decided, man, let's bolt from Grand Canyon, get out of the snow, and go to Gallup because our friends are going to be camping near Gallup in the Red Rock State Park. And we wanted to see that place anyway. So we bolted for Gallup, got down there, and met our friends that evening. I don't remember what day it was, but the next day they said, hey, we're going to be meeting some friends who are musicians, and they're going to be visiting different schools on the Native American reservation.
Yeah.
And if you guys want to go along, and we were like, sure, man, that's cool. We'd like to see some of the Native American reservations, some of the Navajo stuff that's happening. And so the next morning we get up, go to the gas station, and as we pull up, it was actually a touring group with Rich Mullins, and at that time he was working with Compassion USA.
Yeah.
And they were doing like child sponsorship at different schools around the Navajo reservation and the Zuni. So they were all meeting that morning at the gas station in Gallup, and then going each day. They were going to different schools, and Rich was playing music. And so as we get to this gas station, we pull up, and I didn't know him. I didn't know his music. I didn't know anything about him. Never even actually honestly even heard about him, because I grew up classically trained on the cello. The only music I knew was Stryper and freaking Petra from Christian rock, man.
Only the good stuff,
dude.
By which I mean the terrible stuff.
No, dude, I was all in. I apologize to you listening. John Schlitt was the bomb. The lead singer of Petra, man. Those dudes had a huge impact on my high school, middle school years, right? But it's okay if you don't like them. But I was a big fan. Anyway, so end up meeting Rich at this gas station with his band, and they said, hey, we're going to go play at these schools. And so we ended up tripping along, and for the next 4 days we would go and Rich would play music, and my buddy and I would like play basketball with the kids, and you would
eat leftovers out of the hotel hallway.
We would eat leftovers. Yes. We would steal tater tots from the lunch room at the schools. Yeah. And then I don't know, like the fourth day, Rich didn't really say anything to me because he was kind of in the zone of playing music, and I was just some punk kid with full like leather motorcycle gear and a big old beard, and he did not have any reason to hang out with me.
You've cleaned up really well, I will say.
Thank you. So anyway, fourth day or so, we're after they play, they invite us to walk up to the top of a mesa from one of the schools to see some dinosaur footprints. I don't know. Have you ever seen those? Or
no, I've never been up there, but I was in the area a few times and wanted to.
It might have been like Shiprock area, Farmington, somewhere like that.
Yeah, I lived right there. I mean, just outside of Farmington.
So. Yeah. So
I mean, out in the Southwest, just outside means 45 minutes outside, but
everywhere's like a 3-hour drive to get wherever you want. Yeah. But we were hiking, and as we're hiking to the dinosaur footprints, Rich came up along next to me, and he said, "Hey, you've been hanging out for a few days. What are you doing?" And I was like, we're just traveling our motorcycles and just helping out. We thought it'd be cool to see what's going on. And so he said, well, man, that's cool. I've seen you play with the kids, and you guys seem like good dudes. And he said, I'm building a Navajo hogan, which is like the 8-sided structure that the Navajo people lived in and is part of their traditional dwelling. And he said, I'm trying to build one, and I could use some help. So if you and your buddy Alex want to come live with me for a week and help me, I'll feed you for the week. And of course, food was our motivation for everything. Sure. So free food, we were like, heck yeah, dude, let's go. So we left, and when he was done with this 5-day little school tour thing, we went back with him to Window Rock. And he was living there in the property of the Harpers there in San Benito. And so we, for 5 days or so, helped him. We would work during the day, and I'm not a carpenter, dude. I still have a scar on my forehead from like the wood chips that fell. But we're trying to build this hogan, and in the evening, we would hang out in his trailer, and he liked to watch movies. And so I think the second night we went in, and there was an old cello leaning against the corner of the trailer in his living room.
Wow.
And it was like an old cello, like the kind that you would see hanging on the wall at like a Cracker Barrel or whatever, like with one string, holes in it, just like decoration.
I think by old you mean bad.
Like horrendously unplayable.
Yeah.
But I was like, hey man, can I mess around on your cello? And he goes, yeah, I'm plinking. So I start plinking on it, one string and picking out a tune. And he had no idea that I actually was a classically trained, like, I'm pretty good at cello. I'm not, I'm not the best, but it's I'm okay, right? So I'm plucking. He goes, "You play cello?" And I said, kinda, And again, I'm fully leathered up and full big beard. I don't look anything like a classical musician,
right? Yeah.
And so he goes, hold on a second. So he walks to the back room of his trailer, comes out with a brand new $5,000 cello, and he's like, "Yeah, I just bought this thing, and I don't know how to play it, and I've been looking for someone to maybe teach me or figure out how to play it." So I'm like, dude, I'll show you. So I showed him like how to hold the bow and helping him with some vibrato techniques. And it was just fun because I had no idea that anything other than that was going to happen. It was just this random like, dude, you look like a freaking biker dude.
I'll give you cello lessons if you'll give me some more tater tots.
Exactly. Yeah. Motivated by free food.
Yeah.
So then we end up, he grabs his guitar and we end up playing together there that night, just jamming. And he was going to lead worship in a couple days at church. And he said, hey, if you want to play with me, I'm going to lead worship at this small church, which was right there. Now it's called like Hilltop Church or something like that. So I was like, heck yeah, that's cool, man. That sounds like fun. So I play with him, and then I sing harmony at church, and he's playing the piano and I'm playing cello. And after church, then he pulls me aside and he says, hey, man, I know like you've been working with me for the week, and I know you're planning on going to med school. I don't want to like ruin your life, but if you want to...
I would like to ruin your life.
I'd like to ruin your life and see if you'd be interested in playing cello with me in our band this coming summer for our summer tour. Our fall, it was fall. It was November of 96. So I was like, man, that's really cool, but nah, I'm good, dude. I wasn't interested. I was like, man, we still got like another 6 months of traveling, and we've got like 15 more states to visit. So I said no, and I told my buddy Alex, and he was like, wait, dude, like that's a big deal that he would ask you. Yeah. And I was like, I don't know the guy, man. I don't think his voice isn't really that good. He's kind of, his songs seem boring for kids. Like I'm looking at it from like, dude, I grew up listening to Petra.
Right.
And so, where's the energy? This dude's playing this weird instrument that you hit with these sticks, with a hammer dulcimer. Right, and nothing really cool. My perspective was so different, right? So anyway, it was he invited me, and that was fall 96, and I said, man, nah, but I'll let you know. So we kept touring. We left and toured, and then at Christmas time of that year in 96, he actually called me, and he was like, I'm going to be in Cincinnati, which is where I was living. So he came over to my house to meet my parents. And my dad remembers like this weird dude showing up at the house, and he tells a story about how Rich came in, and he was like, okay, Rich, my son is kind of interested in touring with you, but I think you're ruining his life. Are you a Pied Piper? Right? Are you leading him? And but he hung out with our family. We had family dinner, and he just wanted to get to know us. And as I traveled, I just kept on praying and listening, and realized like the more that I went, the less I was interested in medicine, and the more I actually began to get excited about traveling and playing music.
Yeah.
So, dude, at the end of May of 97, I finished our trip on the motorcycles. We did all the lower 48, and I called Rich. I said, okay, I'm done. And he said, okay, we're starting to rehearse in Wichita tomorrow. So I said hey to my parents, hopped on my motorcycle and rode to Wichita, and I didn't have anything. I didn't even have my own cello at that point. I had a concert cello, but I left it home. So I showed up in Wichita, and we rehearsed for 2 weeks in an abandoned bank downtown Wichita, and then started touring the end of or mid-May of that 97. So
wow,
it's kind of crazy. That's how
I knew some of that story. I will say also that it has been a long time goal of mine for your dad to accuse me of being a Pied Piper. So,
well, just invite me to do something stupid and see
right. Yeah. So I'm envious that that someone else earned that honor.
There you go.
I have not. Yeah.
Well, to my dad's credit, man, he had to fight the battle of being proud of your child for doing something awesome like getting into med school, and then having him say, I think I want to give that all up and travel around and play music in a Jeep and a van and make zero money.
If it's okay with you all, I'm going to go live very poor.
Yeah. And he was like, what is wrong with you?
Right. No actual place to live.
Yeah.
If that's good with you. Yeah, but it's kind of a weird thing from med school.
Yeah.
It's an odd twist.
Yep. Left turns, man. But it was cool because my dad got to the point where he was able to say, nope, son, I have to trust God's work in you more than I trust my opinion of what God's doing in you.
Gotcha.
And
yep.
So it was cool. He was able to give me the green light. So anyway, that's kind of the story, man. An unexpected meeting at a gas station, and
I knew some of that story, but I didn't know the rest of it. I didn't know you worked on the Hogan.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't know you were hanging out for like a week. I thought it was much briefer than that. So.
No, it was a whole week, and we were gonna leave sooner, but then it snowed again, so we were stuck in Winter Rock. So
people think the Southwest has no snow, but that area where you were talking about when you first laid the bike down, Flagstaff is there, and there's ski resorts and the whole bit. So
yeah. So it was cool, man. Just seeing how that unexpected happened, and then, of course, as most people know, then. We toured all summer, and then in the fall of 97, we were on our way from Chicago back to Wichita for the first concert of a fall tour at Lawrence Dumont Stadium. And we drove through the night. Rich was behind us, and Michael and I were driving the equipment truck. We got in that morning and got the call that he had been killed in a Jeep accident.
Yeah.
And so we turned right around, drove back up, and so... My entire history with Rich Mullins was one left turn after the other of unexpected. You know, some beautifully unexpected, and the others were devastatingly unexpected. You know, but just part of the journey of life that I lived with him. So
it's really cool. So then where you and I get mixed up, we didn't even get mixed up at first. I kind of knew you for a little while when you were playing with Rich, and then later with Mitch. Like, I would see you at shows and whatnot, but didn't really know you. But a lot of you may know that I spent some time teaching music out on the reservation, and that happened because this jackass said no. So,
and when you say jackass, you mean me?
Yes. Right,
Let's be very clear.
Right, yeah. So Rich actually asked Eric to do that, and Eric was unsure. And the way I understand that happened the night, like right before the wreck, right?
Yeah, dude. It was so we left on it was a Friday night because the show was, I think, supposed to be Saturday. So Thursday night, Rich, he was like, hey, let's take a walk. So we left from the studio in Elgin, Illinois, where we were recording.
Yeah.
Mitch's first album.
Yeah.
That's when we did the Jesus Project in that abandoned old church. But he said, let's take a walk. So we walk around the neighborhood of Elgin, and he, during that walk, basically said, Eric, you've been with me this whole last 6-8 months, and I'm realizing that Rich Mullins, I am really good at making money with music. What I want to do is I want to build a program that nurtures the musical gifts and raises the voice of the Native American people on the Navajo reservation, so that their voice can be heard again, so that they can have a chance to share the gift, the voice, the music that they have as a people. And I know that I'm not supposed to be the one to lead that. I can fund it because I make a lot of money through my music. For whatever reason, God's given me a lot of supporters and fame to make money, but I realize that I'm not the one to run it. So if I tour and make music and pay for it, would you run the ministry of teaching kids music and helping them? And it would be raising a Navajo music ministry, like a choir, music instruments. And so he asked me then, and again, it was the second time he asked me to do something weird, and I was like, nah.
Right. I'm good. You're right. I'm solid. Right.
Not my passion, not my thing.
Right.
I mean, it was interesting, and I thought, let me think about it, let me pray about it again. And so I thought, man, that sounds really cool, but I can't. unless I own that, it's not my thing.
Right.
So
sure.
then, the next night we left and he was killed in a car wreck.
Yeah. So I got the call. I had started doing the American Dream. I was working in technology and climbing the ladder. Since we're talking about life from the bottom rung, I was going up the ladder and got the call. And unlike Eric, I am not good at music. I just play all of the instruments like in kind of a terrible way, just enough to fool people. So
that is not true.
It is. It's. I know tricks. I'm like a bear riding a unicycle. I don't really understand what I'm doing. I just but the good side of that is where that strength is that I could teach anything.
Yeah.
I even had situations where I would, like, I had a student that wanted to learn to play saxophone, so I went and rented a saxophone and a beginner's book and locked myself in my room for 2 days.
Yep.
And you just get like a lesson or two ahead.
Yeah.
And then you just have to keep practicing too. So your time, so you get worse and worse at all the instruments because you're not really focusing on any of them at that point. But what happened with me was I got the call because I knew some folks who were in Compassion USA stuff.
Okay.
And it was a weird twist and turn kind of thing, like what we're talking about, because when I first met them, I had done some work on the res just a little bit, and somebody called one of the Compassion USA folks and said, "Hey, do you know about this guy and what he's been doing out here?" I guess he was teaching some music when he was here, and because God's got a funny sense of humor or random stuff, one or the other, I called that person while they were on the phone with the person asking if... So I got cred without them knowing anything about me, because a friend of theirs from the res had just been asking about me like 2 seconds before that.
Oh, cool.
And so then I was calling to see if I could represent Compassion in smaller ways with the small time stuff that I was doing, and so that's how I got to know them. And then when after the accident, they called and said, "Hey, do you want to make bad decisions and
do something dumb with your life,
ruin your life, and drop your whole life and go live on the res and teach music?" And I came up with 5 reasons, and I don't remember what they are now. 5 things that would prevent that. And they just dropped one at a time, like
cool.
They were nothing. One of them, I do remember one of them. It was my father had co-signed on a loan for a car for me, and I couldn't put him at risk. I could put myself at risk, but couldn't put him at risk. And so the bank refinanced the car under just my name and lowered the rate. And I was like, there's something
nice
squirrely happening here. So so I ended up being on the res for 17 years and
doing the thing that Rich had thought about asking me to do.
Right.
But you took the mantle of that and said, "Man, that feels like something I think I need to be doing."
And it's still, Navajo still feels like home to me. I mean, Wichita does too. But it's not like, I don't feel like I should necessarily be there, but I definitely, when I'm going through that area again now, I just go like, oh man, this is a place I belong. When I was driving through western Kansas to get down here, western Kansas did not feel like a place I belong.
Yeah.
But this does. So it's real cool that all that kind of was woven together without any of us really knowing, like, oh, this is where this is heading. So it's just a weird thing to think about how that just blindsided me, and yet, it ended up being one of the most joyful times in my life. We used to say, like, when we first started working out there, we used to say, "Can you believe this is our lives?" This is, we get to do this. So that's a cool thing.
It is, man. It reminds me that the other thought, the scripture that I have that was part of this when I was thinking about this theme was from Matthew 6:8, when it says, "Your Father knows what you need before you even ask Him."
Yeah.
And like I look back at my life and that journey for me, the interactions, even for me, the snowstorm in the Grand Canyon, and then my friend in Gallup, and then the dinosaur hike with footprints, and then meeting Rich and all that. Like I look back and say, I can see clearly that the Father knew what I needed before I even knew it. And I was seeking direction for my life. And He's like, okay, here you go. Boom. He puts all the pieces together for that moment.
Sure. Yeah.
You know? And for you too, that you, He would put you on the phone at the same time as the other person, and then talking about this. And then Rich asked me to lead this, and I was like, no, but you felt the call. And then the ministry got somebody much better looking than me, much smarter than me, much
smarter
more
than you.
Put
After
together.
you talked about some kind of stuff earlier about endocrinal
enzymatic processes, brother. That's true.
Am I saying it right?
That's right. Yeah, you got it. You got
exactly
it. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Do you do colonoscopies?
Only for friends.
Oh shoot. So man, yeah, like as that's one example of many of looking at the left turn in my life and seeing, okay, man, so many details had to fall together for that to happen. And what felt random to me was actually, I believe, God's design of putting things in place before I even knew that I needed it. And even to the point when after Rich passed away and we were living through the devastation of what to me was one of the most beautiful seasons of my life, of touring with him and experiencing life and ministry with him, it changed my life. And then all of a sudden, boom, it's over. I have no idea what tomorrow holds. He was the only reason I was doing it. He was paying for my living. I mean, so then like the devastation and the unexpected, I was thrown into another left turn. Right. And so then it put me to the test of saying, okay, God, if I trust that you know what I need even before I do, then can I trust even in this devastation? Because everything in me was screaming like, no, this is wrong. Can't be your plan. Right. There's no way. And trying, for me, learning how, or looking back and saying, how do we respond in those left turns that come our way, you know? And so there are some and those of you listening, there are some times in our lives where the left turns are beautifully wonderful and bring joy, and seasons of unexpected, like, man, can you believe we get to do this? Yeah. And then there's those unexpected moments where devastation hits and we're like, dude, I can't believe that I'm living through this. This is supposed to be those things you hear about on TV. Right. Or on real life. Yeah. You know, like somebody else is dealing with devastation or death or divorce or sickness.
Right. If it breaks your heart in a movie, guess what it's going to do to you in a lifetime?
Yeah. Like, but it's never really going to happen to me.
Right. Right. Of course.
But guess what?
Yeah. Then it does.
It did. It has. Yeah. So, I don't know, man. I thought maybe we can take a minute. I thought each podcast I could share a song. Sure, yeah. Would that be right?
Yep, that's great.
So there's a song I wrote called Trust, and it's all about trusting through the ups and downs of life, the left turns, the windy and twisty path of life. And so for me, it's a statement of faith that we can hold on and trust through the journeys of life in our Good Shepherd and his hands to lead us.
In this walk of faith, I can't see what rounds the bend or discern all of your ways. All I can see is the death of my dreams and the darkness of the unknown. And yet the blessings keep falling unexpectedly as I stumble down this road. When I can't see, I can only trust in your love, in in your hands to lift me up. I can only trust in the one who leads me from above. I can only trust. The whisper of your calling is clouded by the misty fog. Has descended on this windy, twisty path of life I walk. There's no telling what pain shall roll my way, or the little gifts that I can't explain. But I guess it would not be faith if I could comprehend all of your ways. But I can only trust in your love, in your hands to lift me up. I can only trust in the one who leads me from above. I can only trust. I'll lay my hand in yours and know one day you'll lead me to those peaceful shores. I can only trust in your love, in your hands to lift me up. I can only trust in the one who leads me from above. I can only trust in your love. I can only trust in the one who leads me from above. I can only trust. Oh, I can only trust your guiding, trust your hand, trust your leading, trust your plan. Trust you walk this path before me. Trust my heart, you'll understand. Trust my Savior, trust my King, trust the Lord of everything. I trust on the storms around me. Trust He will provide my every need. I can only trust.
Hey, thanks for listening, everybody. That was the song called Trust, and it was a song that I wrote really reflecting on this journey of walking through the unexpected left turns of life, some good, some bad. And one of the things I've often thought about is there's that another like passage that comes to mind a lot when in the book of Job. And that dude, man, talk about going through unexpected left turns, tragedies, but the dude loses almost everything. And one of the things I love about that book is when they were in, it says his friend is like, man, you should curse God, or his wife, one of them. I don't know the exact story. Yeah. But his response is, man, who am I that I should accept just the good from the Lord and not the bad?
Yeah.
Right? Am I only going to accept the good and not the bad? And the truth is, man, if we fully trust that God knows what we need and that He's going to lead us, then if it's good or if it's bad, either way, we have to trust that he's writing a story with our life. And our job is to trust and to stay close and follow him no matter whether it's good or bad, right? So I guess the closing thought I have is just remembering that really in the unexpected, as we look at life from the bottom rung, meaning like life's not really about us as much as we want it to be, but that God's doing something much bigger, and that if we can trust that he's at work, even in the unknown, that there is hope no matter what we face. And in my journey, man, I learned a long time ago, and especially after Rich was killed, I remember the day after he died, or so maybe a week after, I was in Nashville, and I was wandering through, just walking down the streets of Nashville, and I went into this old abandoned, like Episcopal church. It wasn't abandoned. It was an Episcopal church in Nashville, and I went in and just was really overwhelmed with this feeling lost and not knowing what was next, and the unexpected that came was so devastating. And I laid on the floor, like literally laid down face up, arms out. There was nobody else in this church. It was like a stone floor, and I remember feeling so lost and just looking up and saying like, man, God, I don't know. I feel dead. I don't know what I want. I don't know where I'm going. Everything I was living for is no longer in existence. The thing that I was going to do with medical school, I gave that up. I don't even have that as an option anymore. And so I have no idea what is next. I feel totally lost, and I feel dead. And there was this really beautiful moment in that feeling of lost and dead to knowing what was happening, where I felt this odd peace, where it was like the Father was saying, finally, you get it. I want you to stay dead. Stay dead to your need to know, and trust that I'm writing a story with your life that is way more beautiful than you could ever create on your own. That there's things happening that are bigger than you, and just basically relax and trust me. And walk where I lead, stay close to me, and trust in the unknown that I know what you need before you even ask me, and I got you. Right? There was this weird peace, and it didn't fix it. It didn't change the circumstances. I still didn't know where I was going to go after that in the moment, but it was as if the Lord was saying, no, stay dead to the need to know, and let me be the one who's writing your story, and just trust me and in the left turns, because you're going to have a lot more, which I have had.
Right. Yep.
So anyway, I guess that to me is the message of today's podcast, is finding hope in the unknown, because God knows what we need before we even ask him, and just trusting that somehow through the ups and downs that God's writing a story that's more beautiful than we can even comprehend, you know? So whoever you are, may you find hope in your journey, and whatever crazy left turns that you've found or have experienced, may you remember that there is hope, and remember that the Father knows what you need, and he is writing a story with your life. If you want to, you can comment on the platform where you hear this about the crazy left turns in your life, the good, the bad, and share the stories of how God's been working in your life. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah,
so,
do that.
Yep. Anything else, Sprinkle?
Nope.
All right, my friends, thanks for listening. You are listening to Life from the Bottom Rung podcast. We will see you next time. This is Eric and Sprinkle signing off.
Later. Let me just tell you about the laying down in the Episcopal Church thing.
Yeah.
I did that First Baptist here in Wichita. It was on Sunday morning about 10:30. They had me arrested.